Welcome to the Home Enthusiast with Remy. Today we're talking about transforming your home with paint.
Turn your house into a home and join us on the Home Enthusiast podcast.
Welcome everyone to our podcast, The Home Enthusiast with Remy. Today we've got a very special guest, Scott Leach. Scott is our go-to man for everything painting, plastering. Basically, we do have a lot of properties that need that to look amazing. They're quite old, or there's a few holes in the walls, and we want to get all that fixed up. So we're going to ask Scotty a few questions today. Scotty, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you.
Scotty, what's the difference between painting your home yourself, DIY, where you don't have much experience, versus using a professional? What are the main differences with that?
Well, there's a few differences.
Yep.
Painting's a trade. So a lot of people think they can just do it themselves because, you watch The Block and you watch all the other shows that say, you just get into it and do it yourself. It's not that easy. The biggest problem that people face doing it themselves is that they don't get the right tools. They buy cheap stuff from Bunnings, which is no slag to Bunnings, but it does have cheap stuff.
Yep.
So even a professional painter will struggle with some of the stuff that they have at Bunnings, like the brushes are cheap, the rollers are cheap,
Yep.
and you're already in trouble before you start because it's not good stuff. So you need to go to a professional paint shop, which is like Wattle, which is where I go, and you need to spend the money, like anything really, you need to spend the money on decent tools to do a decent job.
So do the tools make a difference in the end result?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do you see that? Is it like you can see paint patches
Yeah,
everywhere?
so the cheap rollers, you'll have like lines come down your walls, and you can always tell when someone's painted themselves because the cutting in's not that good, or they haven't put enough coats on the wall. You can just tell, So, yeah, you just got to do it properly, you need to have the proper tools, really.
Yeah, no,
And that's the
really
biggest
good
mistake
advice.
that everyone makes straight away.
Yeah, of course. My second question is around probably doors and frames. So we go into some properties sometimes, and all the walls are nice and white and sharp, right? But then the frames and the doors are still the old yellow, the previous color.
Yeah.
Why is that?
When you paint back in the day, they used oil-based paints. And if you use a white, the oil yellows, and it used to really smell. They don't do that anymore. They all use acrylic paint now. So that stays white. But a lot of people might just paint the walls and not the doors and frames. But when a house is aged, if once you start painting, like you paint the walls and then you leave the doors and frames, well then the doors and frames look old
Outdated.
as well.
Yeah.
And it's like, where do you stop? So you really have to paint the whole house. Like,
Is it much harder to paint them?
there's a lot of work in the frames because they all need to be undercoated, sanded down, need to take all the hardware off to do a proper job, take the door handles off and that. So you don't want to see paint on your door handles.
Yeah.
You don't want to see paint on your door hinges.
So it's a lot more like little job rather than just spraying the walls, I guess. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, the walls, you just do a little patch and you cut in and roll.
Yeah.
But your doors, you've got to sand them down. Say you've got a door that's got, like patterns in it. You got to brush all those in. There's just a lot more work in that. That's where most of your work is.
Yeah, but it does make a difference, obviously.
It makes a massive difference. You got brand new doors.
Yeah.
You put your door handles back on. Even if you change your door handles, it all just looks brand new. It looks really nice.
Yeah. Different type of paints. You just touched based on that. Why did we move from oil to, what is the other name?
Acrylic.
Yeah, what's the difference?
One's oil-based, so you have to wash up with terps.
Yeah.
And it takes like 5 hours to dry. It's really sticky and it really smells like you smell your house out.
Do people still use that?
Not really, no. They used to, but it's fading out.
Okay, so everyone used
So everyone uses acrylic now, so it smells nice. It's a lot easier to use.
Yeah.
And it comes up with the same finish. So
Yeah, cool. If someone, wall colors and stuff, right? If someone's got, let's say they just bought a property and there's a purple wall, a blue wall, and they just want a whole house white. If it's like those kind of colors, bit, darker, I guess, colors, is it a lot more work for you or for anyone to go paint that back to white because it's a different, like quite heavy color?
yeah. Yeah, so with the colours make a big difference because if you've got a dark colour and you want to go to white, it's going to take 3 to 4 coats to cover it.
Right. As opposed to...
As opposed if you were just repainting it purple, it might only take one coat if it's not too damaged, or 2 coats.
Yeah.
Majority of the time you paint things 2 coats. But yeah, when you're changing colours like that, it needs 3 coats probably. Yeah. But sometimes with the doors and frames, if they're too yellow, the white will even need 3 coats. It won't cover because it's just not a good covering colour.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Patching up and all that kind of plaster work that can come before painting, right? We've seen some people that just, replace the lights and stuff, and then there's holes in every wall. Is that hard for someone to obviously fill those holes and do all the work needed to make the ceiling look perfect again? What are the steps to do that?
Well, that's the hardest part of the painting procedure, I think.
Procedure,
because it comes down to, it's like when you paint anything, you've got to have the proper preparation for it to look nice.
Yeah.
Because if there's a ding in the wall, you're gonna still see that ding. You're only painting what's there. You can't hide things with the paint. Yeah. So the plastering is a major part of it. So if you've got holes and up your stairwell or whatever, when you're bringing the furniture in, you got to patch that, and it's really hard to patch it. You got to know what you're doing to patch it properly. If you use like your spack filler from Bunnings, it's not going to look good because it's like concrete. You can't sand it.
Right.
So
okay.
There's a real art to patching stuff to make it look like it's brand new.
It's seamless.
Yeah, and sometimes you get houses that have been like 30 years old, and you can't fix everything. You can't make it look brand new because it's not brand new gyprock. It's dinged, and you can get it looking good, but not.
Yeah. So that sort of brings me to my next question. Can you paint anything? We've had a few cases where people wanted to paint a kitchen. Is it a straightforward answer, yes or no, or does it depend on the type of kitchen?
No, you shouldn't really paint your laminates.
Yeah.
The paint doesn't like to stick. They make a paint for it, but it's not hard. It doesn't stick well enough.
Okay.
So no, you shouldn't paint your kitchen. It's a cheap way out to try and get your kitchen to look nice. A very cheap way out because, you're looking at 15 grand for a new kitchen.
Yeah.
Where someone to paint it might cost you 4.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I don't recommend it. Same with tiles. They got tile paint.
Yeah.
It looks, you can tell you've painted it.
What about brick, like external brick?
Yeah, you can paint brick, no worries, that's fine.
Yeah, easy. And roofs, like on top of roofs as well?
Roofs are fine, tiled roofs, tin roofs, they're all pretty good. One of the biggest mistakes people make, doing the painting themselves, is they think, okay, we can paint this house, let's do it ourselves, we'll paint these 2 bedrooms to start with. Mm-hmm. If it's going to take me, a professional painter, say 2 days, 3 days to paint a couple of rooms, like ceiling walls, if you're doing that on the weekend and you're not a professional painter, it's going to take you probably 2 months every weekend to paint it.
Yeah, true.
By then, you're pulling your hair out. You've already wrecked your rollers because you haven't washed them out because you can't be bothered.
And your relationship is in struggle.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And you've got paint everywhere. You need to replace your carpets. And so, yeah, sometimes it's better and
save
easier
time.
Just to sit on the couch and let the professionals do the work.
And on that topic, when you paint, is it easier for you when there's no furniture or
Definitely.
when there's furniture? Yeah,
Definitely.
Okay. Is it more work? If there's furniture, what do you need to do?
Remove it. No, you don't want furniture in the house.
Yeah.
And it's hard when people live there too because every day you got to pack up and.
Yeah, it's better that if it's like a site that's just for poo painting. What about drop sheets and stuff?
Yep, you just got to set up and everything like that. It's just, you don't want to get paint on the floor. You put drop sheets down.
Yeah.
Plastic up your furniture. Yeah. You're rolling your ceilings and stuff. Like the last thing you want to do is be scratching paint off the floors. So.
Of course, yeah. Painting wet areas like bathrooms, toilets, is that any different than like your normal bedroom and hallway or not really?
Yeah, if there's not much ventilation in there, you probably should put a semi-gloss on there so you can wipe it if there's mould.
So is that a different type of paint?
Yeah, it's a bit shinier.
Okay.
But if there's good ventilation in there, it doesn't really matter.
Okay, so it's the same thing unless the ventilation's different.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Outdoor decks, right? Painting them, a lot of timber when it's outside, it gets, with the sun, it gets pretty old and pretty shitty. How do you make them look amazing again? Yeah,
decks are really common and a lot of people just let them go too far.
In Queensland, the sun is quite heavy, so
you really need to be oiling your deck every 6 months.
Oiling it.
Yeah, so that's like, you use, like, let's say oil. You can use like oil, or you can use your Ultra Deck, which is like your water-based stuff. So you need to give it a bit of a pressure clean. If you let it go too far, you need to pressure clean it all the way back.
Yeah.
And then coat it up. And we're doing that every 6 months. Otherwise, it'll just destroy the timber.
What type of paint is it? Just normal paint?
Yeah, it's just in the decking. If you go to, it's not normal paint. It's decking. It's different.
So if you maintain it well, your deck will obviously look better. You won't need to do as much work if
It's
it
a
was
lot of
just
work having a
forest.
deck. It's a lot of work to look after a deck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of sun, water, and everything.
Yeah, it's into the elements all the time.
Yeah, of course. Cool. Scott, thank you so much. I think we've covered a lot of topics. Yeah, thanks so much for being on the podcast.
That was great. Thank you.
Cheers.